Because if you think that this is rare, you sadly would be mistaken. What's actually rare about this story is that it was actually highlighted and shared. That doesn't happen too often.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe. And if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back. So my usual disclaimer, please, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Do not go searching out for anybody that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comment, threat, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So today's video is something that got me very sober, and as a black woman, it sent chills down my spine. So there's this video that was made by a black man who is in the medical field, and it went viral. I'm just going to go right ahead and play his video.
Good morning. I beg you, please share this video. I really don't care about the numbers. But for black people, for black women, I need you to hear this if you don't hear nothing else in your damn life. Sister, if you are giving birth to a child, if you plan on giving birth to a child, I need you to listen to me. Sisters, I need you to listen to me like you ain't listened to a black man before. Don't you take your ass to a hospital that you done asked 1,000 questions before you stepped your ass in there. Do you hear me, sister? I worked in the ICU the other night. I'm normally a trauma medic in the emergency room, but I picked up a shift in the ICU. And we immediately got a sister in there who had an emergency C-section, and she had internal bleeding, hemorrhaging. Now the baby was taken out and the sister was brought up to the ICU and critical care, critical condition. We could not figure out where she was bleeding from, and we were trying to keep this sister alive. I turned to the doctor at some point, doctor that does not look like us, and I say, doctor, can you come take a look at her stomach? It's getting really distended. And her BP, her blood pressure is not going down. That doctor looked at me and said, that's my patient. I'll be over there in a minute. 2 hours later, after this sister coded on that table 2 times and we had to get her back, we finally get her down to the operating room, and yeah, that hemorrhage that they thought they controlled with that emergency C-section was not controlled. She was still having internal bleeding, which was killing her. Black people, I need you to hear me. If you can take your black ass to Target, if you can go to Walmart, if you can buy and spend and do for all these corporations that don't give a damn about you, your black ass, your black community, your black race, you can ask questions for that black baby. I don't care if you think you're annoying, the doctor think you're annoying, the hospital think you're annoying. I don't care if God himself think you're annoying from asking too many questions. Ask the question, sister. Because there's going to be a certain point in that pregnancy where you ain't going to have the ability to ask not a damn thing, sister. It's going to be out of your hands. So while it's in your hands, sister, I'm going to need you to take control of that pregnancy. Black men, don't you let that woman go into that hospital and you don't know every inch of that building. You need to know if something goes wrong, who is going to put their hands on your woman, on your child. And other black people, if you work in the hospital, speak up. Say something.
The passion in that man's voice and the story that he told, especially knowing how high risk it is for black women when it comes to maternity, childbirth, and all of that. Childbirth on its own is already dangerous enough as it is. Then being a black woman, it is even more dangerous. So you see what that brother said? A lot of people have been sharing his video, and obviously the statistics prove that what that man said is true. The kind of risk that black women face when it comes to childbirth.
Black women, I need you to hear this.
I need you guys to really listen to that video. And it's true. As a former labor and delivery nurse, I had to get out of that because I was tired of seeing women of color not really have a choice. I've seen women asked to give birth standing up in squatting positions or in natural positions. Doctors would say no. They had less autonomy over their body. They pushed C-sections on them. And they would also make comments that, oh, well, she doesn't have family. Please go to the hospital with someone. Do not leave your baby by themselves. They don't care about us, unfortunately. We're just a joke to them.
If you don't hear nothing else in your damn...
I'm telling you right now, what this man talked about in that video is absolutely true. During the birth of my second child, if I was not there with my wife, limp and all, during that birth and being her advocate, oh man, this is not the time for a black woman to go into a hospital with a baby coming out of her by herself. I don't care if we have 50 more pandemics. I really don't care. Go to the hospital with your woman, man. When my wife was pregnant with our second son, they misdiagnosed her with an STD because they switched out her blood with someone else's blood. So off rip, the staff didn't like me because of their negligence. They were trying to get me to sign DNR papers while I was there. I rebuked them in their face. And the midwife that we had refused. She refused to help my wife through labor and delivery. When my wife said, I feel like I need to push, she literally did this. Push. Bro, when I tell you, it is not a safe place for black women at these hospitals. I am not joking. I am not speaking hyperbole. This is not something that I heard from a news station. This is not something that I've looked up. This is something I've been through. They really do not like y'all. I ask a lot of questions when I'm at the doctor's office with my wife, when I'm at the hospital with my wife. I ask a lot of questions. You have to make them uncomfortable, because when they're uncomfortable, that's when they're on their A game and they're making sure that they cross the T's and dot the I's. If you don't show that you're serious about your health and the health of your baby and the babies that are gonna come after, they will leave you alone. They will literally let people sit in the hospital for hours at a time and not tend to them unless you make a ruckus. The hospital ain't the hospital no more where people go to feel better. It's actually a war zone. It's a war zone. And if you believe in Jesus, there is a such thing as spiritual warfare. That is real. And it's real in the hospital.
If you plan on giving...
Watching that video really had me and my fiance very emotional. Now, as we prepare for our fourth child, my fourth child, his first child, there are a lot of things that is so important before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and after pregnancy. When you get into the delivery room, excuse me, because I was like crying just watching that video, because it was really emotional, and it shows how much lack of respect black sisters, black women have when it comes to doctors and hospitals based on your insurance, based on the color of your skin. And these are things that are still happening today. Being that it's my fiance's first child, this is one of my hardest pregnancies where I suffer from severe hyperemesis. He's been with me every step of the way. He asks questions when I can't even think to ask questions about how I'm feeling. When we go to the doctor, he asks questions to inform himself and make sure that I am safe and I am protected when we get to the point where we need to go and deliver our baby. I remember having my third child, and 2 weeks prior to me having her, I wasn't feeling as many movements. And the doctor at the time, who was supposed to have delivered my baby, my spirit didn't take her. And anytime you hear somebody from the islands, Caribbean, say, oh, my spirit don't take that person, it's really for a reason. It's something. And the lady was not, she didn't come off to me as like someone who was sympathetic in a situation. I explained to her that I'm not feeling as many movements as I was. You know, they always tell you, oh, drink water, drink water. So So I ended up drinking water, and I still was having no movements with my daughter. And it was really scary to me because as a mom, like, I poke my belly, I check, you try to watch for things to make sure that your baby is still moving, because we don't know what's going on inside there all the time. And it's scary. It's very scary. So I went back into the doctor for ultrasound, and they sent me home. And I went home, drink water, drink juice. I wasn't feeling as many movements. I felt probably one movement, maybe two movements in 5 hours, which was rare for me. I know the baby was getting bigger. I was like 38 weeks pregnant at the time. And I probably wasn't 38 weeks. I probably was, I want to say, like 40 weeks pregnant at the time, and she just wasn't doing as many movements. So when I got back to the ultrasound, I called them again and said something is wrong. I went back to the doctor, and the doctor who was getting ready to leave the company said, okay, we're going to have you do a fetal stress test, check the baby. When he did the ultrasound and checked the baby, he said, okay, something is not right. I'm going to have you go to the hospital, and they're going to monitor you there at the hospital. So me and my then child's father went to the hospital to get monitoring. So we get there, we're on the monitor system, and they noticed the same thing. So they decided to induce me. Now all of my children have been natural births. All three of them prior were natural births, so I've never had a C-section or anything like that. So they induced me. And I want to say how grateful I am for my best friend and my god sister for being there with me, my daughter's father for being there with me in the room. Because as I was giving birth to my third child, they kept asking for a doc in the box. And they kept telling him, press the button again, press the button again. And as I pushed her out and I go back and I watch the video, I remember myself saying to them, why is she not crying? Why is she not crying? And I watched the video to this day, and I'm like, the umbilical cord was wrapped around Layla's neck 4 times tightly. My baby's lips were black and blue. When her head came out, it just slumped on the table. And I'm so grateful for my support system, because I was asking questions, knowing what it is when your baby is born, that your baby is supposed to be crying. I just wanted to know why she wasn't crying, and I see why she wasn't crying. But my support system that was in that room with me, that asked the questions for me, Chanel, Jessica, I appreciate you guys, and I love you.
Black men, don't you let that woman go into that hospital and you don't know every inch of that building.
I remember clearly when me and my wife was going through the stages of her pregnancy, we went to the OBGYN, and she told the lady, hey, at some point I'm going to need a FMLA, from you in order to be home and resting and stuff like that. So the woman looked at her and said, do you think I'm going to give you FMLA so you could take off work and go to the beach? Immediately after leaving the office, I told my wife, that woman will never get the chance to touch my child. She will not be the one bringing my kid into this world. I even told my wife, you ain't going there for no checkups. We're going to find a different OBGYN. The reality is, doctors are people. I've been to a doctor's office before where the doctor was there and he didn't even come and check with me. He sent somebody else to check on me who wasn't a doctor. So I didn't even go back there. But back to the topic at hand regarding the lady and my wife and stuff like that. All I'm saying is this: do your research, just like he said in this video. Do your research. It's a very painful situation. I remember when they gave my wife the C-section, they're putting the needle in her back. I was outside in that hallway crying because I lost control of everything at that moment. There was nothing I can do. And all that was going through my mind was my child and my wife. One of the most traumatic experiences was looking through the glass and them injecting her in her back, and I could not do nothing about it but hoping and praying that she was okay. And doctors, nurses passed me in the hallway crying. No one asked me, are you okay? Nobody gave two crap, right? But aside from that, the main thing I'm going to say, if y'all ever have doubts about that doctor, the first visit, or if y'all getting a funny feeling, do not go back. Do not go back.
Share this video.
I'm going to try my best to keep my composure and not cry. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, I just started following this brother not too long ago. You just got to follow him. The video that I'm stitching up his right now, it hit me. It hit me personally because this was me almost 14 years ago. I had some gallstones that got stuck in my bile duct during some part of my pregnancy, towards like the 8th, almost into my 9th month. My gallbladder, it was rupturing. It was about to burst while I was pregnant with who you all know as the little TikTok hater of mine, my baby girl. And I went to the hospital. I talked to my primary care doctor. I talked to the OBGYN that I had at the time, and I was telling her something don't feel right. Something just did not feel right. And the only thing I kept being told, the only thing I was constantly being told to me was, oh, it's just your body changing, you know, every pregnancy. I'm like, look, every pregnancy is different. I understand that. I've had 3 kids before this one. Just something really wrong with me. And she dismissed me. And she was not a woman of color. A good doctor, but she didn't understand it. And I went to the hospital. It was a scheduled C-section. Went to the hospital, had the baby. Okay. Not even 3 weeks later, I was admitted to the hospital. And I remember when I was laying on the table as they were getting ready to perform the C-section, I was in so much pain. I was just upper abdominal pain. It was bad. And I remember they gave me the anesthesia, and the only thing that the guy kept saying was, he's like, you can't go to sleep. I was so tired, but I was in so much pain. 3 weeks after the fact, my gallbladder completely ruptured. My blood pressure was 200 over 130. And for anybody that's in medical, y'all know that's horrible. And I remember after I had the emergency surgery, the same OBGYN came in and saw me as she was doing rounds for other patients she had. And she was standing over me crying. And she said, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you. I could have cost you your life. I'm telling you, us black women, we are so expendable to other people, it's not even funny.
That you done asked 1,000 questions before you...
And ironically, less than a week later, you have a woman going into the hospital to have a baby, and the baby is accidentally decapitated, and the doctor tried to cover it up. And what color was she? As a nurse who knows how bad the mortality rate is for black women having children firsthand, and this guy is raising awareness, and the irony of it happening right after he's posted the video, then got fired shortly after. I think there's something to be said about this. We need to vet our healthcare practitioners in general, not just for having babies, but in general. They need to be vetted before we feel comfortable enough for them to do anything to us.
That you done asked 1,000 questions before...
Hey y'all, Black Nurse Midwife here. I wish I could say that decrease in maternal mortality is just as simple as asking questions. I wish that was it. Systematic racism is so much deeper than just asking questions. Because you know why? The pretty little white girl, the docile little white girl gets to lay in the bed, don't ask questions, and they walk out of there with a baby and a mother. But when it's systematic racism, it doesn't matter how many questions you ask. I have seen some of these white providers, many of the black providers, just not give a shit about pregnant women. People just don't care. And the blacker the berry, the less they care. It is so much deeper than asking questions. And while I believe that this content creator means well, and I thank God that he did advocate for his patient, it's obvious that he's in ICU and in a completely different department outside of obstetrics. You know, I realized that the patient was floated there now, so he was taken care of. But you just have no clue. And the tone of bringing up Target of you ain't never listened to a black man before. Like, what did that have to do with anything? You could have come online and just given pregnant women a list of questions to ask. How to find a good provider, how to find somebody who's going to listen to them if they're sick, how to select the proper hospital. Like, there's so many other ways that this conversation could have went instead of turning around and victim blaming. Oh, because y'all are dying because y'all don't ask questions. Not to mention the amount of my patients here in Central Florida who are Haitian immigrants, who are Hispanic immigrants, who English is not their first language, who have a low educational level. A lot of people, they don't even know what to ask. The only way to protect women is to start at the source. That's it. And decrease in maternal mortality is the responsibility of everyone, right? It's the black husband or boyfriend. It is the black mother. It is the father. It is the uncle. I had a delivery the other day. The girl's dad was in the room. And people was like, oh, that's weird. She's there while we're examining her. He's there while we're examining her. Vagina's open, blah, 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 blah. I said, he ain't letting nobody kill his baby. It's everybody's job.
So now, a few days ago, he came back to make a follow-up video.
Hey everybody, I don't know what you did to get that video to almost 2 million, but I'm gonna need y'all. I'm gonna need my community. I'm gonna need women to push this video. Push it as hard as you can, and I don't know how you do it, but please do. Because I was fired yesterday. I was fired for making a video telling you about the almost tragic loss of a woman giving birth. And I would do it again 1,000 times. You see, they depend on us being silent. Because a lot of women, you're looked at only as a means to an end, not a human being. So if someone makes a mistake, a doctor or a medical provider, they dismiss it. Because the people that work there usually remain silent for the sake of a paycheck. They depend on me relying on that income to buy my silence. But they must not have understood who I am. I cannot and will not remain silent when I see a woman, especially a black woman, being mistreated, having malpractice performed on her, or being dismissed, denied, unseen, and unheard. I called out some doctors, I called out the situation, and I would do it again. I did nothing wrong. They tried to say that they fired me for other frivolous reasons, but they fired me because I posted that video. They fired me because I posted a video calling out what I believe was incompetence and dismissal. And that woman almost passed because she was being treated as an option, not as a priority. Well, thank God she survived, but she survived because some nurses were willing to do what had to be done. So, I'm in a transition period. If y'all want to donate to my Cash App to help me get from point A to point B, it's appreciated, but I will make a video soon calling out the actual hospital and what city I'm in. My Cash App will be at the top of this page. Women, you are loved.
So as you guys saw, he lost his job, and I'm not surprised that he lost his job, because if he's coming out to expose the hospital he worked at, even though he didn't call any names or whatever, but of course, they are definitely not going to like that. So now he's basically out of a job, and he put his Cash App in that video. Usually I'm always very careful posting people's Cash Apps and GoFundMes and stuff like that, because I know there's no way for me to really confirm the stories that they really tell and all of that. Anybody can say anything on TikTok and put up a GoFundMe or a Cash App or whatever. So I don't really like to spread any message or information that I cannot verify by myself, you understand? But you guys saw his Cash App in the video. If you feel moved to do something for him, I guess you can actually do your research yourself, check him out, go to his page, and if you feel moved and you feel convinced enough to support him, you can go right ahead and do that. That is his handle on the screen. Please check him out, because especially for a black woman, he shares a lot of gems on his page, especially when it comes to health and being a mom to be, and maternity, childbirth, and all of that. I am really proud of him, and I think this is exactly why we need more black people in the medical field. not just the medical field. We need more black professionals generally in every field, because I would more likely trust someone who looks like me to look out for my best interest. Because I don't know, just because, I mean, statistics say that's even the safest way to go, isn't it? For any black professional, anybody that's working at their job as a black person, and you see another black person, it would be nice for us to actually look out for ourselves in this setting, just like this black man is looking out for the black women that come to his hospital for childbirth. Who knows how many lives he has saved just for the fact that he was there to speak up for them. Anyways, you guys, please let me know what you think in the comment section. Just let me know. This one is a very heavy topic. It's really heavy. I'll just wrap up the video here. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.